Wake up, Adam, they are getting close.
It's closing down. It is happening now. It is going down. Close down. What is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Today, we're going to talk about stores that are closing down left and right. This is something we have covered over 6 years, and we've actually covered a ton of different huge big box retailers that are essentially closing down. We're actually going to show you a large list of many stores that are shuttering their doors and never opening them up again. Now, here locally, I have actually noticed this, but I thought it was more kind of a local thing because of how my state was run and other things. But again, if you're new here, remember to go over to our website. We have a full bibliography of every single article, tweet, video, picture, document over on marfooglenews.com. All you have to do is look for today's thumbnail. Of course, retail apocalypse, mass store closures overnight, and then you'll find a list of all of the articles and pictures, videos, documents that we're going to have here today, including a video of San Francisco, which basically shows exactly what I see here in Seattle. First, let's bring in my co-host/internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So before we go over the list, just a quick break, and then we will be right back. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, so we're actually going to go over a couple of events, and there's some stories here that, of course, are brand new. But first, we were going to go over a list of some of these names that are actually dropping a ton of stores. Now, you may have noticed this where you're from. Many of you can pop into chat a local store that you have lost lately. I, of course, have complained about Fry's Electronic. They are actually on the list. I used to be able to go there and get computer parts. I used to be able to go get tons of stuff. Of course, we lost Radio Shack years ago, or at least around here. Heck, Blockbuster's gone, but that's because of an evolution of technology. But there's many stores that are these stores that you would not expect to be hitting the hay. So, Dex, first of all, me and you probably don't hit Bed Bath & Beyond much, but it's not just Bed Bath & Beyond. It's actually Bed Bath & Beyond and other companies like it. In fact, they're closing stores at Bath & Body Works. First of all, let's just briefly talk about why all these stores are closing down. I personally think, honestly, they shut down the world for months at a time and thought that it wasn't going to affect anything. Now, worldwide, on top of the financial collapse that is coming, we have, of course, all of these stores that cannot basically keep up with online trends and people ordering from home. Dex, do you want to give your thoughts on this before we go through this whole list of crazy shutdowns?
Yeah, there's many reasons here. There's over 5,000 brick and mortar storefronts that have shut down since 2021, I believe the stat is. That's a significant number, and the number is continuing to grow overnight. Every day you're hearing about these. You see them in your town, and it's a combination of things. Certainly, the CV event that we had didn't help. But there was a lot of things that were leading into that, like e-commerce and the evolution of that and people buying online and not going to stores. But now we also, as you would think some of these stores would be recovering from that, we're in this economic situation where a consumer spending isn't as high because everybody's sort of buckling up right now. They're kind of worried about what's going on with the economics of our administration and our country, and the world for that matter. And credit is, very expensive and not available to a lot of people. So the lack of those things all hurt retail business, and that's why those are many of the reasons we're seeing these retail stores shutter, like you see every day.
So we're going to go over some of these. Bed Bath & Beyond actually has kind of a crazy story behind it, and someone actually took their own life over this. So just to go over this, founded in 1971, the retail giant once owned more than 1,500 stores across the country, but the company's profits had been gutted with the rise of e-commerce in recent years, with the situation becoming dire as the pandemic caused supply chain shortages that crippled their storefront forward business model. Now think about that. They are literally attributing part of this to CV. So CV, which we know was, obviously had so many flaws, and nobody's going to go to jail over what happened, even though we know that certain things were made, certain things were done, certain things were, mistaken here. Nobody's going to get in trouble, but yet the large companies, family-owned companies, private-owned, small businesses, they all went by the wayside. I knew of many, of course, hair salons that just went under. I mean, there was a complete turnover in an entire kind of, what do you call those, strip malls by my house. It was like every business went out of business during CV because they had to pay the rent, even though there was no assistance, especially for a rent for certain types of businesses. Now, they gave these PPE things and all of that, but if they didn't have the right amount of employees, whatever else, they had to shut down. So back to Bed Bath & Beyond first announced plans to close 200 of its stores in July 2020, with the subsequent closures announced as sales continued to plummet. Then in September of 2022, the company's chief financial officer, Gustavo Ernal, committed the unaliving in New York City after it was discovered he'd artificially inflated the company's stock price in a pump and dump scheme to sell off his shares at a higher price. He actually got caught, and of course, Bed Bath & Beyond actually filed for bankruptcy. Bath and Body Works, we don't have the full story on this, but obviously it is mostly in malls. Now, when you think about all of the malls right now, many of them have been much more populated since, all of the lockdowns and restrictions have lifted, but honestly, they are still quite dire. There's a lot of stores, a lot of open retail. In fact, we have a story about that here in a second. We have, of course, Foot Locker. Now, I have never liked Foot Locker. I don't know if you guys like Foot Locker, but in fact, you know what? I don't want to say something with getting this wrong, because all of the shoe stores, first of all, I don't think people have money for $100, $200, $300 shoes right now. But second, I think Foot Locker was the one where they all have the matching outfits like what you see. And I always felt like they were pressuring you and I don't know, maybe that was a different one, but it was like there was 6 people like, oh, you should get these, you should get that. I didn't know if they were commission-based or what, but they are closing a huge, massive amount of stores. It says last week, Foot Locker announced that it was planning to shut more than 400 of its underperforming stores in shopping malls by 2026. The sportswear and footwear retailer currently has 1,300 retail locations in malls in the U.S. When the announcement was made, Foot Locker shares were down more than 5% for the day, despite an overall upward trend in the stock market. Now, remember, all of these different companies that we're mentioning here, this is all going to go into this bigger thing here, that all of these big companies, these untouchable companies in some cases, are going down. We're not even talking about restaurants right now. We're going to make an entire other video to companies like Starbucks, which are shuttering their doors as well. Best Buy. Now, Best Buy, along with Fry's Electronics and others, the Best Buy, as far as, we've had many, many stores close around us. Best Buy has always kind of been the spot to go to for all sorts of electronics. But Dex, you've been to Best Buy. There's actually you shop a lot online. I'm kind of the opposite. I go out to the stores, which again, not many people do anymore. Most people are just like you. They shop online because somewhere like Best Buy, as you said it, has, if you were to go get a DVD player, which nobody even uses DVD players anymore, there's like 3 to choose from. and they're all basically made in China, or there's one that's really good, but basically they're like, this is the three. When you go online, you can find 50 or 60, and you can get one with good reviews for cheaper than what they sell it for at Best Buy. Why do you think
Yeah,
somewhere like this would go down by the wayside?
I think in Best Buy's, I think they're closing like 30 stores or have closed 30 stores. But they're probably one of the better ones that it doesn't necessarily fit that example because they do have a large selection. The one thing I always had a problem with Best Buy is they had so much power and pull with the manufacturers. For example, they could have an LG TV with its own model number just for Best Buy. So therefore, you couldn't compare and price check that TV versus another TV or another LG TV in another store or online because you couldn't get that same model number, even though it's really the same TV. That was one of the tricks they did because they're so big and they're so huge. They still are. But yeah, they're obviously having trouble. If your online game isn't there, and Best Buy does have a decent online game, but it's not like Amazon and others. But if your online game's not there, I think they're missing out. And it's going to hurt them because this whole notion of people going into the stores it's not happening as much as it used to.
And every time I've gone into a Best Buy, it's hard to find somebody. They're understaffed, and it's usually it depends on when you go. If you go during peak hours, it's like packed in there. There's no staff. But when you go, during the day or something, it's like there's nobody in there. I've been in Best Buy in Washington, at least 2 or 3 Best Buys, and they're completely empty. They have all of these items, all of their displays since CV have been like basically broke or stolen or broken. A lot of them just don't. It doesn't have the same feel. The reason why somebody would go to Best Buy for, say, computers or for something technical or for a TV is so they can physically see it. That's the other thing. When you buy something like a TV online, you can't really see the quality of it. Something like a TV, I think, is kind of safe. You always want to go in and actually see what it looks like. But now they kind of made it to where even if you do order a TV and you don't like it, you just ship it right back and there's no questions asked. Or that's how a lot of online shipping is. But how do you know it's not good if you can't see it next to 40 other TVs? So these big box chains have always done really well and they've always been kind of safe. But I mean, it's going by the wayside of the digital kind of ordering. The electronics company will be closing many stores, close to 30. Looks like at least 17 right away across the country, and that it was planning to shutter up to 30 by the end of 2023. It follows a rising wave of Best Buy store closures in the past few years, with CEO Corey Sue Berry saying and announcing plans in a recent earnings call to continue to close an average of 15 to 20 traditional large format stores per year. So this is a company that will most likely stick around because they're going to go more into the online thing. But that means people like me can't go into the store and check things out, compare them, actually play with the gadgets. I think it's really sad. Do you? Let me know in the comments down below. And then Rite Aid, and there's actually several here. Rite Aid, Walgreens, and CVS are all under this kind of same thing here. CVS, for example, in fact, CVS Karen Lynch said earlier this year that it plans to close 900 stores nationwide by the end of 2026, with at least 300 stores closing annually for the next 3 years. However, it does still have roughly 9,600 stores throughout the country, according to Best Life. Retail expert Neil Saunders of Global Data warned in 2021 that too many stores are stuck in the past with bad lighting, depressing interiors, messy merchandising, and a weak assortment of products. Walgreens, of course, a similar vein to CVS, had announced the rolling out of its first major drone delivery operation in Dallas-Fort Worth, symbolic of its push towards online retail. So they are actually, they're really taking a deep dive and trying to go into the online world. Meanwhile, they're closing a number of their 9,000 stores. Dex, go ahead.
In the pharmacy world, at least for me, and this just happened to me the other day. I think I was in Publix. I wasn't in it. I was checking my prescription in my Publix app, and it said, "Do I want it delivered to my house?" And I was like, "Well, of course I do. I don't have to go pick that up." And I just pushed the button, and it was maybe like $5 or something. They just in turn they gave it to a DoorDasher, gave them the $5, and the DoorDasher brought my prescription to my house. And so I can easily see this notion of drone delivery, human delivery, getting out of going to the actual store for a lot of these pharmacies because it's just so much more convenient. And many people don't even go to the pharmacy; they use prescriptions by mail.
I'm actually surprised that they don't. So for like going back to like Best Buy, right? I'm surprised they don't have a business that has popped up during CV where it is a huge like RV that has a bunch of TVs or a bunch of gadgets in it that would go and it would come to you and you could check out the TVs, buy the one you want, and then take it home. Because the thing is, like with Walgreens, things like this, the problem with ordering it from home is it gets delivered is you're cutting out. If they close these stores, then the 5 to 15 people, the pharmacists, everybody that works there, and maybe with an exception of like the pharmacist, maybe they'll still have a job in some warehouse. They will not have a job. You're cutting out people out of the equation, and soon enough there won't be regular jobs. They're already talking about AI and robots taking those places. Well, if you then combine that with no physical stores to go there, I mean, like, this is getting crazy. Not to mention, Apple is coming out with their VR headset, and this is something we've talked about. A lot of people don't think that this is going to hit so quick. When it really does get adapted, and when it is to the point where it's not clunky and ugly and this and that, and where people really adopt it, just like they adopted the first touchscreen phones, when people said, "Oh, that won't work. It's just a tablet, this and that." They didn't think it was going to work. There was many magazines back then, and it's kind of classic to read. But when you see it now, you're going to go into a store, a fake Walmart in a VR world, pick out products, and then say you pick out something out of a Walmart, which they've already set up the infrastructure. They're working with the FCC or the not a FAA. They're working with the FAA. And they're actually going to have a drone delivery system for things. So say you go in the VR store, you pick out an item. By the time you pick it out, you buy it. It automatically rings up your card, and then it is on its way to your house via drone, via human, via DoorDash. The thing about that, Dex, is that DoorDash driver is probably not making enough to live, especially with where prices and everything is right now. So yeah, there might be a lot more DoorDash with a lot more work, but you're cutting out the store out of the equation, and that's the part that bothers me. CV also cut out all of the checkouts. Now you go to the grocery store, if you do have a full cart, they will, if you ask, go over to an actual checkout, but most of the stores by me, it's all self-checkout. It doesn't matter if you have two carts full of crap, you have to go through the self-checkout. I've learned that you have to basically ask, and if they only have one person, then they have to go away from the self-checkout. I hate ringing up a huge cart of stuff at a little tiny dinky self-checkout, but that's how it's been. And they said that was temporary. If you remember when CV started, they said, "Oh, we're doing this so everybody can do their own stuff," which really didn't make sense because everybody was touching the same scanners, everybody was hovering over the same thing. They were physically touching items and pushing them on stuff. People touched the stuff. It didn't make too much sense. I didn't get it, but that stayed. Same with 24-hour stores. They went away, which, again, if you don't think about it, all those 24-hour stores that don't exist anymore, you may have them in your state, but we don't have them here, or at least not. I can't think of one. That means that there's 12 hours that a whole shift of people is not working. I think it's pretty bad. So Walgreens is now closing. You have Walmart, one of the biggest box chains. They've been losing money 2 years in a row. We've had actually covered a lot of the losses that they have taken. And it said that the largest retailer in the U.S. said in February it would close 12 stores in 9 states and Washington, D.C. due to poor financial performance. They also don't bring up, and some of them are bringing this up, but the theft, it's crazy in my state and in many states that are run like my state. It is absolutely nuts how much theft there is. You will go into the store, you will see somebody with a full shopping cart walk right out. Especially during CV and during this period, they weren't arresting anybody. They were literally, if anything, they were calling them to the side and go, "Don't do that," and take a picture of them and then let them go. Most of the times they didn't get booked, they didn't get charged, they didn't even get an appointment to get any kind of in any kind of trouble. And because they were doing that, they spread the word. It spread like wildfire. you can still see it here where guys will go in with the full shopping cart, go out, and you'll see them meeting up with 8 or 9 buddies that are doing the same thing. They've all got their carts in a circle and they're trading stuff that they just stole. The bad part is for everybody else, you go in to get something and the entire shelf has been wiped. It's really that bad here. And I know that not everywhere is that bad, but in Washington, and especially around Seattle, it really is. It's absolutely nuts. But the states to lose Walmart are Arkansas, Hawaii, Florida, Illinois, Indiana, Minnesota, New Mexico, Oregon, and Wisconsin. And what's funny is they don't mention all of the stores because in Washington, we just had one close over in Bellevue, and it was just all of a sudden. It was out of nowhere they closed. And those same locations are usually, at least the ones that have closed here, not only Walmart Neighborhood, Target, the other stores that are closing, it's the stores that are often in the poorer neighborhoods. It's often the very same one that I'm thinking about that closed down is actually what I mentioned the other day that has the whole camper city outside of it. It's got at least 40 campers lined up outside of it. They park in the parking lot. There's people that are homeless. And a lot of them probably wouldn't be homeless if it wasn't for CV. And they're, quite normal and respectable people that literally just could not pay rent anymore, which is now a common theme. You see families, you see people that are not, they don't have any kind of issue. They're not going through some crazy thing. They are just normal people that were working full time and lost their jobs or couldn't work or couldn't do the V. So they said, bye-bye to me. So that Walmart is losing it. And if you're losing a Walmart by you, let me know in the comments down below. And then Sears, this isn't a surprise to me. I haven't shopped at Sears in years. Dex, we were just talking about it before. It's like the last time you shopped at Sears is back when you thought Craftsman were good tools. That must be 20, 30 years ago.
Yeah, it was. That's, I can remember shopping the Sears catalog as a kid. And I remember, shopping Sears when maybe my 20-something children were like 1 year old. That was probably the last time I was ever in a Sears. And that was probably buying a Craftsman tools or screwdrivers or something like that. But yeah, that never was a store that was really popular with me as it aged, because it didn't age well like everyone else did. Everyone else seemed to evolve and they just seemed to be stuck. And they were notorious for that. And I think that was probably their downfall. They didn't embrace online. They didn't do their products and merchandise weren't the best. And they were very high priced, a lot of people said.
Yeah, you would go in there and it would be like, for men's clothing, they still had like Tommy Bahama, button-up shirts, Hawaiian shirts that were like $100. The times changed, but their products didn't. They would have a lot of as seen on TV stuff. They would have random stuff. It was more like a giant Ross at the very end there, at least the ones by us, which they closed down too. Not to mention it had this old-timey vibe. They didn't update the insides. They didn't put money into actually revamping them. What they did is for the few people that did go in there, and usually the Sears were always the ones where they would be at a major entrance, so people had to walk through Sears. I can't tell you how many times I've walked through Sears to go somewhere else into a mall and seen just an empty Sears with people sitting around like this. I mean, it's just like nobody was really shopping there. Some people shopped. Now they finally adapted. They adapted some online, but they're basically a dead store. And it's really sad because if you think of the history of Sears and how far it goes back, I think one of the big things was that they were the big name, but they didn't go with the generations. And just like how the kids are getting trained on TikTok and how they're getting taught in these schools and they're pushing political movements and pushing all of this stuff to our youth, what's the scary part is when this generation grows up, all of a sudden the entire world changes. Sears didn't catch up with that. The old generation, of course they knew Sears because Sears was classic. They knew they were going to be able to get a good quality thing from Sears. But as time went, the new generation, even my generation, we didn't go to Sears. So it's really quite sad. And you're seeing all of these big box companies go out. And it just shows you where we're headed. We're not headed to somewhere good. Olympia Sports, I've never been there. If you have, let me know in the chat below. But it is a large sports chain. They're closing several stores. In fact, they are going to be closing I believe, over 115 of their stores. So most likely, if you have one by you, you won't for long. That is Olympia. They also had 2 near Washington, D.C., one in Philadelphia and one in Minneapolis. The company cited declining foot traffic. So they're literally saying that people just aren't coming in. And with a sign like this and a place like this, it's like they're just not. I've never seen a Olympia ad online, at least. And even though they're not around me, I'm surprised I haven't seen any penny ads on it. Dex, go ahead.
It was 35 for Olympia, 115 for Sears. Just clarify.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, they were right above each other. And then we have Steinmart or Steenmart or Berenstein, or is it Berenstein?
We call them Steinmart.
I don't know what it is. I've never seen one, but apparently they are shuttering a bunch of doors as well. How many are they shuttering, Dex?
279.
That is a lot.
Closed.
So that's a huge. Some of the numbers are down in the 40s to 100. Some of them are above 200, 300, 500, 545 for Foot Locker. So that's huge. Party City. I've seen Party City. They have them here. I don't like Party City personally because it's like just the most gimmicky made in China stuff, or most of it is. It's kind of like the Ross for party materials, in my opinion. But they, again, we actually skipped Target here. Hold on. Let me go through. Hold on. I don't want to skip Target. Target is actually shuttering a bunch of doors. So let me go through Target. Target will close 4 locations in 3 metro areas, include 2 near Washington, D.C. And by the way, what's funny is you'll notice a pattern. All of these stores that are closing are in certain states. Washington, D.C. has been mentioned in every single one of these. So if you don't think if you think that's a coincidence, then I think you're tripping. They are not mentioning, just 6 months ago, we looked at the same parameter. A lot of these same stores closed down their stores in Washington, Oregon, and in California. So you're having a second wave into all of the other states that are pretty much run the same way. There's rampant theft. There's absolute insane theft to the point where almost everything is locked up. And we've covered this. I mean, there's things as little as $2 items that are in glass cases now, where you have to go get somebody to go get a shaving cream or something. You literally have to have somebody come and unlock the toilet paper. So this is where our world is going right now. And unfortunately, it's the truth. It's not, this is scary. It's the realistic truth of what the post-pandemic type of world that we're living through, which a lot of us believe was pretty much put on purpose. And then let's see here. DSW Shoes. This is another one that's closing a bunch of stores. Dex, do we have a number on DSW Shoes? I never
65 since CB, about 65.
65 stores. Men's Warehouse, aka Tailored Brands. How many do they have on their closed list?
It says around 500, and I think they also have Joseph A. Bank as one of their companies too. You may have heard of them.
Yep. And I've been seeing Men's Warehouse commercials since I was a kid. Surprisingly enough, I didn't think about it until I saw this. I have not seen any lately, like at all. So they're going down by the wayside as well. New Jersey-based party supply retailer Party City filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in January, announced a month later that it was going to close a total of 22 stores nationwide. It operates more than 800 stores nationwide and already had closed 28 prior to the announcement. So they are closing. Banana Republic and Gap, which also Gap has always been a source for some families for their kids and cheap clothing or affordable clothing. And it says Gap Inc., which owns Banana Republic, announced in October 2020 that it would close around 350 stores around the U.S. by the end of 2023. That's a huge number. And again, this is a huge company that basically nobody wears Gap anymore. I know very few people that actually wear Banana Republic. I mean, to be honest, when the only time I knew anybody that wore Banana Republic is when the 1 year in high school I went to a private school and knew some richer kids, and some of them were Banana Republic. Other than that, though, like it was always way overpriced, and now with where these things are all manufactured, it's like the same thing. It's kind of like the sunglasses. I don't know if you've seen the documentary about the sunglasses, how they're all made in the same factory, but yet they put different names and different designer names on all of the different sunglasses, and they could charge the same sunglasses will be like $8, or they can charge $8,000 because they put a little charm on it or something. That's how I feel about Banana Republic and things like that. It's basically Gap. They just put a nicer stitch on it.
Aren't they also Old Navy?
I thought so too, but I haven't even seen it.
I thought you could get a T-shirt for like $10 at Old Navy, and you go to Gap and it was like $19, and you went to Banana Republic and it was $28.
Yeah,
it was pretty much the same T-shirt, just different labels.
It's the same thing, but you get a different logo. But yeah, Old Navy is always the worst, like the so-called funny commercials. And then we have the Real Real. You guys can tell me what the heck the Real Real is. I've never heard of it. The online secondhand designer retailer had 16 brick and mortar stores as of last September, but in February it announced it would close 4 of them. So basically a third of their stores are now going to be closing. And I believe, an American Outfitter. What number on American Outfitters? This is, again, overpriced clothing. And by the way, you see in all of these pictures, almost all of them have 50% off, 75% off, 80% off, 100% off in Democrat cities. But you see the discounts that they're doing, and it's because these are way overpriced. They're just incredibly overpriced. And that's the thing about Fred Meyer and all these other stores that sell clothes, is they constantly do sales to make you think you're getting a deal. Say it's $100 shirt or $100 jacket, and they go 75% off. You're like, $25, that's a deal. But it's literally a $3 jacket they're selling to you for $25, and they're putting it way, way expensive, and then always putting it on sale from 75 or from 30% to 75%, and then they get you when they're only slightly ripping you off. I don't like it. Do any of you wear American Eagle Outfitters? I don't. Dex? Is that do we have?
I do not wear them, and they're I think up to 200 now in total since after CV.
Yep, and that's all the mall stores. Fossil is closing down. I never shopped at Fossil. I would always walk in there when I was a teenager, look at their cool watches. I actually thought it was cool when they came out with their Fossil digital watch, the smartwatch, back when smartwatches first started. Other than that, I don't wear fancy clothes, and I don't, as you guys know, I get straight up cheap clothes. But Fossil, they are also shuttering their doors as well. Not all of them, but a ton of them. Christopher and Banks, never heard of this either. Women's apparel. And we have the Real Real. Again, this is a picture of what it looks like. Actually looks kind of like a cool store. And then JCPenney. JCPenney is another one where it's like they didn't, I don't know. JCPenney you would think, but if you actually go into JCPenney, I know people that will not shop at JCPenney, or they won't shop at others. There's like, and I've talked to people and they sound super shallow when they say this, but they're telling the truth when they say, like, I just don't go into that store. They say it's dirty or this or that. I've literally heard that about JCPenney, and I've thought JCPenney looks exactly like 5 or 6 of the other brands. They all look the same. There's no difference. The clothes are it's just all the same stuff. It's kind of like, humans are, it's like a video game, and you have so many clothes you can choose from to put on your avatar. That's how I feel like about JCPenney. It's always the same stuff for guys. It's jeans, this, that, jeans, khakis, this, plaid, stripes, this, and then for women, it's these frilly things, this, that, and then 50 million dresses, different colors, but they're all the same. But as far as JCPenney, they also had other stuff. They had all sorts of other things. They are going to be shuttering a bunch of their doors. Macy's was higher end avatar dressing. And how many stores are JCPenney and Macy's closing? Do we have a number on that? I actually don't have that.
No, I don't have that number on those two.
So they are actually shuttering. Let's see here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Macy's, 170 outlets. And you kind of see a resemblance here. You're seeing a lot of the mall stores. the malls are basically turning into ghost towns. And then we have Tuesday morning. I've never been into one, but I do know people that would shop there. They are actually closing a bunch of stores as well. In fact, they are going to be they're doing Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and 30 stores are closing. And then we have Amazon Go, Amazon Fresh, and Amazon 5-star stores. These are actually something that everybody thought was going to do really well, but they're not. Most people, if they want to go through Amazon, they'll just have it brought to their house. Specifically, one of the first test stores, I believe, was in downtown Seattle, and it was right before all the riots. And like it felt like a couple days after it opened that they were like boarded up. If you go through downtown Seattle, there are still places that are boarded up from when they had the B and the L and the M riots going on. There's still places that are shuttered. There's businesses that left. Even McDonald's, which was the ghettoest, most dangerous corner on 3rd and Pike or something like that, 5th and Pike, even that McDonald's shut down. It was just so bad after years and years and years because it was just horrible. That whole area is considered just basically a open-air drug market. And then Amazon Go, they are closing. Amazon Fresh closing, which I thought was going to be they're actually going to be closing. Yeah, they're going to possibly be closing a big chunk to 1/3 of their stores. Big Lots is closing its stores. You have electronics, Fry's. Fry's actually closed a ton of stores. I saw this actually happen, and I talked about this during CV. Essentially, when all the stuff from China stopped happening and the shipping cargo fiasco happened, when the shipping containers from China went from $5,000 per container to like $30,000, it was like within months, this place was totally shuttered and empty. It was crazy because I kept going in and they kept saying to the employees, they lied to the employees and said, you're all good, we're getting shipments, it's just got to return to normal. They had employees walking around for 3 or 4 months in an empty store, a giant warehouse size place. And there was like a couple sections that were full, but the rest were just empty shelves. Even the as seen on TV section had like a couple of hoses and things that nobody buys. And then you had the computer parts section, and it was like anything that was made in America they had. So they basically had about 5% of the store. The rest was empty shelves. It was absolutely horrible to see, and it was really, really sad. I really loved Fry's, and it was like a big, giant Radio Shack, and now it's gone here. Now they still have the parking lot just completely framed up. I believe there was only one here, and it was in Renton, Washington, and that place was awesome. But they closed that. Dex, you guys don't have Fry's out there, do you?
We didn't have them in my area, but I think we had one in our metropolitan area. I just never shopped at it. Really, really sad. And then let's see here. We have Family Video. Never heard of this. We have something like video only here. It's sort of the same thing. I'm actually, I guess, I don't know what this is. I think it's more of a store, but because it says they have CBD sold here. So maybe towards the end of it, and by the way, they still have those glass bricks at the whatever location is pictured here. It's very old school. This looks like the sign straight up from the 80s. They are shuttering a bunch of their doors. And then Big Lots, which a lot of people will be sad to see. I know people that are just like hardcore about Big Lots. They have all sorts of different variety cheap deals. They are going to be shuttering a ton of their doors. So there is a lot, and I wanted to show you this. This was there's a viral video. This is San Francisco, one of the most tourist places ever, and I bet you a bunch of you are actually going to say, like, hey, I used to go there. You know, when I went there, it was this bustling, awesome shopping network of a place, and now it looks like this. So this is now it's really sad. All boarded up, empty spaces.
And as you can see, it's almost the entire street and many other streets. Almost every business is now closed. Every single business. I mean, I did not see one on that entire street. And if you read the comments on this, this is one of the worst parts. It says, "This is sad. I can remember the shoe store on the top of Blondie's Pizza, Ben and Jerry's. Blondie's made a comeback, same owners and everything. It's at the mall and food court area, so they moved to a food court, a mall. They literally couldn't deal with it on the street. I worked in that area for years, from 2016 to 2023, and it's crazy to see how stuff has changed. Businesses were trickling out, but the demic expedited it a lot. Yeah, I interned here in 2016, and the cable car street in particular was full of shops. I distinctly remember walking into Uniqlo, which was there at the time. There was an Armani exchange store in that area that closed down in 2018. They have leased out that spot since. They haven't. And it says they are still trying to get the cologne smell out. That's pretty funny. Damn, Skechers is gone too. The King of Thai still around the corner? Question mark. King of Thai still there. At least Starbucks is still there. Right? Can't sit and drink your coffee. They removed the tables so the homeless can't camp there. Being in NYC this weekend really drove home how much San Francisco has declined, and it's not just a big city thing. So I just want to tell you, I don't have video footage of it, but I can show you a whole plethora of videos I took during CV, and I can say that it looks exactly the same in Seattle along 3rd Avenue, 4th Avenue, 5th Avenue. All of our main streets look exactly the same. And it's really horrible. People can say, oh, it's because of this, it's because of that. Whatever it is, our country is going to crap real fast. And the people that are denying it are in a bubble, and they just need to wake up. That's just my personal opinion. Let me know what you think. And then, of course, LA has more than 3 million more square feet of empty retail than before CV. That is incredible. I can't even put that into a frame of reference for that. Dex, essentially all of LA is open for sale signs or for lease signs.
Yeah. So, even worse than it was. So you would think the comeback would have helped, but no, it's gone down even more. So there's tons of, and this is a big problem. It's not, and by the way, it's not just retail. Retail's an issue. There's retail space everywhere now because of all these shutterings. I mean, go look at any mall. You'll find, like, I don't know what your mall's like, but the mall where we have, it's no longer a mall. It's like there's rando people just setting up, whatever kind of store they can think of, and because they're getting super cheap rent, because they don't make any money. They're not making any money there at all. Nobody's shopping, and it's really weird to go into a mall these days. But that retail real estate problem is one of many problems. There's also the commercial real estate, like for businesses. There's tons of inventory for that because people don't go to work anymore. They don't show up in the office. So, there's these little bitty retail things that are sort of happening, not retail, real estate issues that are happening, retail being one of them, commercial or business real estate being another one of those, that are also going to have a major effect in our economy because these things are sitting there empty.
Yeah. And they're not going to get filled anytime soon. So I also want to point out that there's many companies that are making really stupid decisions. They're getting politically involved because of their DEI or whatever. What do they call it? The EEI score, whatever they call it for diverse and inclusion. There's Target, of course. You could talk about the whole boycott thing and stuff like that. This isn't why they're closing. The entire economy is just falling down on itself. And it's part of it, because we closed down for 4 or 5, 6 months. One thing I don't understand is how, if they are doing this on purpose, who's paying the difference, right? And why? Why are they willing to burn it down unless they have a plan to rebuild it in some horrible way that none of us want? So you'd think that people are just stupid at the top. There's a reason for this. And that's when you start realizing that, you go, holy crap. Why would they do this unless something far more evil is going on? Just my opinion, but let me know what you think. Not to mention, we're witnessing over the last couple of years, what is the big push for all of this stuff? If I tweeted earlier that the best way to vote has become how we spend our money. If they pander, don't buy it. If they're destroying an IP, don't go see it. If they wreck a movie, don't go watch it. That's just really what you have to do. And it is working. I mean, look at Marvel is failing right now because of all of their, wokeisms. You have, of course, Lucasfilm has had a debate for now over a few years now because they just keep making crazy mistakes and doing these crazy things. You have that's Marvel, Lucasfilm. You have Disney basically going down this road and losing millions and millions, if not billions of dollars. You have the new Indiana Jones, the Elemental Pixar video. And they bought Pixar and destroyed it too. All of these things are going down the wayside. Like, everybody is doing these political pushes, and I feel like everybody just wants to get back to staying out of politics. The stuff that you don't talk about in a bar, how about let's go back to that? How about let's go back to traditional family values? I don't know, something like that. And hardworking middle-class families. Oh, wait, they're going to destroy those. Tell me what you think down below, and make sure to join us for our full show. We're going to talk about all of the current events over on Marfoogle TV, our sister channel. Do you like videos like this? We actually have planned for edited videos and a whole list of really interesting topics. We're also going to do a video on the restaurants that have shuttered, and we're going to be doing videos on all sorts of crazy things that have happened in the past. The dancing plague of the 1500s, Mandela effect, pole shift, all sorts of edited videos that are put out on this channel. So make sure to subscribe if you want to see those. Dex, do you have anything in closing?
Well, I'm not shocked by what we're seeing, but these are signs of the times, and we need to be paying attention to these signs and make sure that we're preparing ourselves accordingly, whether it be, determining if you're dependent on one of these stores and they're closing, you have alternatives, or you're preparing yourself financially, because these are the obvious signs and the writing on the wall of things to come, that the economy is changing. We're going through some massive shifts, some major shifts, whether it's by design or just by coincidence, which I doubt. Be prepared.
And make sure to go over and check out marfooglenews.com/energy. If you haven't already, make sure to go check out these solar generators. This is one of the best brands out there. They actually just won an Army contract, the SBR Phase 2 contract for the Flex Tactical. If you haven't seen these, they work essentially like Legos. You can actually expand them. They're modular. You can expand up to 96 batteries, and you can, of course, store that power for whenever you need it. It is power on demand. It's absolutely amazing. They hook up to solar panels. You can actually charge them from your wall, plug it up, have it basically ready to go if the power goes out. You can even turn it into a UPS system. The Flex 1500 is one of my favorite units. Of course, now they have the Flex Tactical. That one is even better. But again, I think most people will do just fine with the Flex 1500. And if you definitely want to get a good deal and you're not trying to long-term expand it and do a mansion with these things, then I would highly recommend the Kodiak X2. This is an all-in-one built-in. It cannot be expanded, but it can be dual link. So you can actually expand it to 2 units to double the capacity and double the output. But it basically would cover most customers as far as if they want just a simple solar generator that can actually just plug right into a solar panel and charge, or charge from the wall. This is a great, great unit, and it's 15% off plus our discount. So our discount stacks on top of the 15% off on the X2. So make sure to go check that out. That is going to end when they basically sell the last of this batch. So go to marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY, and make sure to use the code Marfoogle. All right, thank you, Dex, and I appreciate your help today.
Great job, brother.
All right, you guys have a good night. We'll see you over on Marfoogle TV in about 15 minutes. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.